Hi guys, my name is Chad Trofgerben, and this is your tutorial for the week. I took a break last week, just took some time off, but now I'm back, and we're going to resume working with our character that we started creating a few weeks ago. And today, we're going to go back into Adobe Draw and take this character and apply some mouth poses. So that way we can then lip sync inside of Moho, Animate CC, After Effects, or wherever we plan to animate and lip sync. So with that said, we're going to dive into Adobe Draw and get started with this week's tutorial. As you can see, I am inside of Adobe Draw, and this is where we created the character initially. So what we plan to do now is create a new document, a duplicate of the document we made in the previous videos, so that way we can set up our mouth poses separately. And part of the reason why we're doing this is because, as it stands right now, there is a layer limit with Adobe Draw. So if I start to add a bunch of layers, we'll run into problems later on. So it's always best to keep these files separated when using Adobe Draw or Sketch. So the first thing I'm going to do is tap on the top right, that is 3 dots, and it will give you some menu options. And one of those options is the ability to select documents. So I'll tap on that, and here we're just going to tap on the character, and then on the bottom in the center is a duplicate button. So if we tap on that, we can now duplicate the document. We can leave the original untouched and then go into the second document and then begin work. So what I'm going to do here is first remove all the layers that do not pertain to the head, because all I'm doing here is concentrating on building up the head and the mouth poses. So we're just going to start here with this first drawing. We can double tap to see if it contains anything that we need, because that's putting it to invisible and nothing is popping in or out on our document. So I'm just going to tap on that layer and then choose delete because we no longer need it. We can have the hair on its own layer, so I'm just going to remove the hair as well. We can keep the mouth and the lines for the chin and the cheek, but we'll move down then to the glasses and we'll remove both frames for those glasses. Oops, I think I merged accidentally. Let me try that again. Delete. There we go. And we want to remove the frame for the back eye as well, so just delete that. We're just going to leave the nose for now as a reference. We'll probably put the nose in separately or combine it with our head poses. I haven't quite decided yet. It also depends too if you plan to animate the nose out individually. Perhaps you want to add a bone or two to the nose to help add some physics to when the head moves or whatever the case is. But in this case, we're just going to leave it for right now. We can remove the eyes because, again, those will work independently from these head poses. And we want the head itself. So we're just going to keep going and removing layers underneath the head because we no longer need any of these. Just keep going. And we're almost done. We can remove the sketch as well, and we can leave the background just so it's a bit easier to see what we're doing. So now you have the head, the nose, and the mouth. What I want to do next is duplicate the head. So we're just going to tap once on head, and then tap again, and then choose duplicate from the list. Now, with 2 heads, we're going to have one be the top portion and one be the bottom portion. We're just going to tap once on the top head and reduce the opacity to, let's just say, 40%. And then come down and we're going to also enable multiply. I can then come back here to my opacity and bring the opacity up perhaps just a little bit more. So what this is going to do is just show me how this is going to compare. And in fact, I'm going to bring the opacity up to 100% just so I can see this easier. But basically, I want to cut the head in half of my eraser. And I'm going to use the head above as a reference. So we're just going to tap on the eraser and then come down to the bottom head. And starting at the top, we're just going to erase down. until we get to about where the nose is. And then from there, we can make a decision as to how far down we want to go. But I'm just going to come in and start coloring. And as you can see, because of the multiply, we're able to tell which part of this drawing we are removing. And it's subtle, but we get an idea of what's going on. And we could also hide this portion of the head and just remove the top and then not have a reference so that we could just eyeball it that way. But in this case, I think it's going to work fine. We can just come in and we're going to go down again close to where the mouth is. In fact, we'll go a little bit beyond the mouth. We'll go just where the chin is about to start. So we're just going to keep erasing and erasing like so. I'm just going to hide the nose and we'll remove what we could not see before. So we'll just come in and get rid of that stuff just like that. And anything else that might be in our layer, we can come in and just try to remove. There might be some spots I'm not catching at the moment, but we can look at those as we progress. I can even hide this reference layer just to look to see if we can see any spots, but I think it's looking good, so we can bring it back. Now we're going to do the opposite for the top portion of the head. I'm going to come over to that head layer that's on top, go to my blend mode, and bring it back to normal. Then we're going to go down to the new chin layer and bring that up above the head, and then we're going to put multiply on top of that layer. And now we're going to click on that head, and we're just going to do the opposite. So now we're going to erase from the bottom up, erasing the chin, separating out the layers. So with the eraser, I can come in and we're just going to erase up. Once again, we can use the multiply as a reference. So as the color gets lighter, we know that we are erasing those areas. And here, we're just going to get as close as we can. We're not going to completely remove this from the line that we're creating between the two layers. You can see there's that slight orange line to indicate that there's some overlap, and some overlap is okay. We just want this portion to be as cut off as possible. And I can also use this opportunity because of how multiply is working with my layers. I can come back to the chin layer and clean up any spots that might be appearing within my layer here. But everything is looking pretty good. So now we have these two areas separated. I'm going to duplicate the chin as well as the head. So we have that top head and chin duplicated, and I'm going to bring them close together so we have the top head and chin close together on our layers list. And then I'm going to grab the mouth and move it down as well so that it is situated right here. First, let's come back and ensure that we don't have multiply on that chin layer anymore. Just bring it back to normal. And let's click on head and then choose merge down. Then we're going to grab the mouth and move it up so that it's above that newly formed head, and then we're going to merge it down. Now, we didn't have to do this because we already had this phase set originally when we drew the character out, but it's showing you how we're going to set up the rest of the phonemes. And this is going to be the neutral or the closed mouth for this character. So I'm just going to click on that layer again and come over here and tap on head. And this time we'll rename this to closed, at least for right now, and then tap done. So now we have an idea of what that's supposed to be. And from here, we're just going to continue setting up our mouth poses. So I'm going to reduce the opacity on the closed pose for this head. Then I want to duplicate these pieces. So we're just going to come in, we will duplicate the chin, and then duplicate the head. And we will bring the head up so that it's close to the chin. So we're just going to create a new layer for this. And I'll come in, draw a line down, and then over. And then we're just going to have it come down. Let me try that again. Something like that should work. And then down like so. Zoom in a bit here. There's our tongue, so there we go. Now we're just going to do some filling in with the mouth. So I can just come in, we're going to fill in black with the inner mouth. I can choose my color. We'll do white for the teeth. And then we'll choose a color for the tongue. So in this case, we can choose a darker red. Something like that. And then we can come in and fill it in. So now you have your mouth. But as we can tell, the mouth has dropped a bit. So we're going to come back now and grab that chin. And we're going to move the chin down using the transform property. Now we have the other chin visible, so it's kind of hard to tell exactly what's going on right now, but we're just going to drop this a little bit and then tap done. And then I can hide that other chin as well as the other head so that we can just see what's going on here. And if I double tap on the reference to get rid of it, you can see now what I've done is just moved the chin down a bit. Come in, choose our color here for our brush. And then we're just going to connect the dots for the jaw. So we're just going to come in. I can come up like so. And up like that. And that's looking pretty good. Let me just come back here. I'm going to hide the nose just to make sure that everything is looking connected. And it is. So once you have that set, all we're going to do now is just come in and we're going to merge everything down. So let's make sure our mouth is above everything. We will merge the chin down to the head. Then we're just going to take a brush here and grab the color of the head and then tap and hold in the areas where we have our gaps, and it's going to fill in those areas. And then I can take that brush and then color in any of the lines that might be intersecting that are not working. So I can even come in like this and just kind of clean that up. So you get something that looks kind of like that. And if it's even not quite still working, we can come in and remove that line entirely and just try to fill in that line. There we go. So now we can combine the other mouth pose, just merge that down with this head. And now you have your E pose as well as the closed pose set. So if I bring the closed pose back, you can see what this is looking like. So it goes from closed to open. And we have the jaw dropping as it works. Let's go ahead and tap on this new layer, and we're going to name it Head-E, and then hit done. And now we're just going to keep going and adding more head poses. So first, we're going to duplicate the chin as well as the head. We can move the chin then up, as well as this new copy of the head up as well. We also want to make a new layer for the mouth. We can place that above the chin. I'm going to hide all of the other parts just to ensure we're only viewing the parts necessary here. I can come in and make sure that my E pose has an opacity set so that we can use it as a reference. And we're going to go back to that blank layer and select our drawing brush. And here we're just going to make the A pose. So we'll start with a line, and then the upper part of the mouth, the lower part, and then the lip. Zoom in here. going to draw in the teeth, draw in the mouth line as well, and then draw in your second set of teeth on the bottom. Just like that. And then we can draw in the tongue. We're then going to darken out the inner mouth. We will color the teeth as well. Can't color the teeth there, so there must be a gap. I'm just going to hide my reference layer really quick. Come in, and we can see that there is a gap. So I'm just going to come in really quick and just kind of cover that area. There we are. And we need to bring back our reference layer and also bring up the opacity so that we can grab the color for the tongue, hide that reference, come back here to the mouth, and then fill in the tongue. We can bring in the nose just to make sure it's looking good. And of course, we need to drop the chin as well. So we're just going to tap on the chin, go to transform. We can bring the chin down a little bit more like so, and then tap done. So now let's hide the nose so we can see what we're dealing with here. We're going to combine the chin and the upper head, so we'll just merge down. Then we can grab black so we can get our stroke lines in here. So we'll just grab the black color like that. And we're going to come in and clean up these lines. So starting with the cheek here, we're just going to come down like that. Let me actually first use the eraser to get rid of that existing line. Something like this. There we are. And now I can come in. And another one going up like so. It's not 100% perfect, but it'll work for right now for our purposes. I'm just going to come in now and fill in the existing areas that need to be filled in. Come back here, bring the nose back, and it's looking good. So we just need to come in now and combine the mouth with the head. And we can rename this head to head-AI and then hit done. So now we have that pose in place. So now we're going to do the ETC pose, or basically the pose where you make a T, a C, an S sound where your teeth come together. And we're going to go about this a little bit differently because now we have 3 variations where the chin is going up and down. And we're just going to pull from our existing heads to create these poses with the chin. And I believe that having the E poses place for the chin will work for the ETC pose as well. So we're just going to duplicate the E pose for the head. And I'm going to come into this new E pose. I'm going to tap on a brush that contains the color of the head. And I'm just going to come in now and remove any trace of that mouth. I can hide my nose when doing this. And just come in, and we're just going to remove that mouth just like that. I'm going to come back to the E pose that we duplicated from and reduce its opacity so that I can see the mouth. Now we're going to go back to the pose that we're working on where we just removed the mouth, grab our drawing brush, and we're going to come in and create a similar looking shape for the mouth. There we go. Draw in our mouth line, and then we're going to draw a line for the teeth. Going across like that. Then I just need to come back and grab a color for the teeth, which would be white in this case. Let me just zoom in to make sure all my areas are covered. Just that one spot right there. You can fill in and then fill in. Grab my eraser tool here and just clean up this one small line. In fact, I'm going to use my color brush for that just to fill it in just like this. So that way there's no gaps when using the eraser. So there we go. Bring the nose back and it's looking good. So now we can rename this head to head etc and then hit done. I'm going to stop at 4 poses because I believe with these 4, you have a good idea as to how you can build up a mouth with multiple mouth poses. Just go through the process of splitting up the chin and the head, make your mouth on another layer, and then combine it all together. Of course, ensuring that you have the chin in the proper spot and that you have cleaned everything up appropriately. But also keep in mind too, you have moved the chin now 3 times, so you can use that as a template for future mouth poses. So if you have a pose that's similar to, let's say, the ETC or E pose, then just use that chin position and draw your mouth over the top of an existing layer. Of course, erase the mouth on that layer before doing so, and then you can keep building up a library of mouths for this character. But next week, I will, in between these videos, finish up the last 4 poses. We'll quickly go over those, and then we'll dive in and talk about some lip syncing processes that you can implement using different software. So until then, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.